Welcome everyone to another episode of Dynamics Corner, the podcast where we dive deep into all things Microsoft Dynamics, whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting your journey into the world of Dynamics 365. This is your place to gain insights, learn new tricks, and hear from industry experts. I'm your co-host, Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode is recorded on April 1st, 2024. I almost said 2023, Kris, just to say April Fools, but it is 2024. In this episode, I learned so much. I learned about MCAG. I learned about fog. I learned about the 3Gs. I learned about Copilot. I learned about consistency, purpose, TLDR, many things. With us today, we had the opportunity to speak with Heather Cook. Kris, something must be up with that doorbell.
Dude, it gets pressed all the time. We need to get like backup just in case. Yeah.
Let's see who's here.
What do we got
Who
next?
do we have today? And
Hi.
Hello, Heather. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. Very well. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Always a pleasure.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You've been running around.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think we all have. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to like totally like, yeah, running around and then like people bumping things on my schedule. I was like, you need to stop. I'm going to need to have this thing. So yeah. Good now.
Those schedules are a tough thing because a lot of people will look at your schedule, they'll schedule a meeting without regard to life. So what do you do? Because I have a schedule. People look at my calendar, they schedule appointments, but sometimes in the meetings you have to-dos. So do you block off your calendar to work on the to-do? I tried the whole focus time thing. And then everyone would just say, oh, you're doing focus time. I'll schedule it.
You don't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that too. I basically have become very prescriptive about like, do not, and smiley face, do not schedule against, no meetings, or I need this focus time to eat. Thank you. Whatever.
Lunch.
Try to make it funny, so people are like, oh, okay, but yeah, it is.
I've tried the lunch thing too, and I get the, can I bother you on your lunch?
Like,
I really, sometimes I wish I would just say what's on my mind and say, I put it on my calendar for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing with focus time. Like focus time's, you're not doing anything. So I have to, that's the problem with the connected world, I think, or as connected as we are now, because you can never get away.
It can never get away. And, for me, I don't know if it's a superpower or if it's just something that I've had to do is become really good at context switching. Because so like today, as an example, funnily enough, randomly enough, this is my third on camera thing that I've had. This is the third one today, which is kind of unusual for me, but I had my show this morning with Caruana, and then I had a podcast with a fellow who does a marketing podcast, and then I have you all, and and it's just, and I just presented on another team call, and I'm on camera a lot, but today is just interesting because I'm
actually
filming today, a ton. And then I'm like going back into meetings and I'm trying to like build a spreadsheet and so I've had to over the years become really good at that because with the nature of, I think, community and event production and all of that, you kind of have to have that kind of a brain where you can easily switch between things. And not everybody can do that. Like some people need to be like, I need to concentrated time on this stuff or this subject or whatever,
Yes. I've been doing a lot of reading on focus and productivity, and it does talk about context switching and the amount of time it takes to recover when you context switched.
Yeah.
I think they said, I think it was 25 minutes or some period of time.
Once
I
you
didn't
get
see
interrupted. Yeah.
I didn't see anything or any notes. And I had the question, or I even wonder, is the topic relevant? Meaning, if I'm watching a TV show and then I answer the telephone and I have to go back to the TV show, does it really take me 25 minutes to get back into it? Or if I'm working on a development project and then somebody calls me, that may take more time to get back to that certain point in time. So I wonder if time to get back when context switching. Also, I think it's your frustration. You know, if you can do it, and it's more like your personality with being able to roll with it. I think might assist with your context switching.
Yeah. And I think as a producer who is used to, like, you know, all of a sudden you're doing something and they're like, okay, and then the thing fell and you're like, oh, I gotta deal with that, but I gotta deal with this too, and I gotta deal with this. And so to me, like, the it's become part of my DNA, you know. But I do sometimes, I think that's why I do have to unplug, though, too. Like, I really try very hard to unplug at night and on the weekends and really get away from that and try to have my life not be so spinning the plates, you know, as much.
And it works, because when you come back, you can spin more plates, I bet.
Yeah, totally.
No, it is. I think rest is important. It goes back to that. If you're working in the office, sitting at a desk for 10 hours, 12 hours doesn't mean you're more productive than somebody who's working 8 hours. It's not the time that people should measure. It's the output. I think measuring someone's output is more important than the amount of time that they spend sitting at the computer or doing something.
I agree. Yeah. I had to learn to work from everywhere as well, because I liked being a digital nomad, you know, pre-COVID. Like you could find me at the MoMA Museum in New York City, plugged into a little Wi-Fi there if I happen to be in town, and I would work and do my meetings, and because they have beautiful space for it. And then I'd go like look at an exhibit or go to lunch or whatever, you know. So I got good putting in headphones and being able to focus and concentrate, you know. But you know, not everybody can do that either. So
I used to do that. I used to do that well, and I do it semi well now. But my downfall, I realized, was multiple large monitors.
Oh,
I think that impacted my ability. I can work from anywhere. Spoiled. I do work from anywhere.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I even have a portable monitor that I bring with me so that I can have dual displays when I go places. But that multiple monitor thing, because you go from to
like
it gets difficult.
As my lovely eyes have gotten more and more, you know, 20/20 over the years. I find that too, that I get annoyed that I can't, you know, like I carry a Surface Pro X around with me, and it's a great machine and it's really light and wonderful, but you know, like trying to like look at something, this and this to compare, and just like you're saying, you know, it's like I've gotten to where I carry another screen as well when I travel because I can't deal.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But before we get too deep into this, we do have to know who you are.
Oh, fabulous.
We didn't go through the introduction.
Oh, I know. I guess. Oh, we've been recording the whole time, huh? Oh, okay.
Oh, we always record from the beginning because we miss
bits, right?
Yes, and we record way after the end until we're all gone, because there's always these wonderful things that pop up for something.
Or the like drag racers outside my house. Did you hear that?
Oh no. Can we see them?
Good. Yeah, no. Well, they're there all the time pretty much. Yeah, that happens a lot. It's Los Angeles. People have the hoopties, souped up, whatever kind of cars and stuff. So,
yeah.
Do you have a hoopty?
So, I don't even know what that means, but yes, I like that word. It's fun to say. I am a Heather Cook, and I work at Microsoft. I'm a principal PM manager on the Microsoft 365 MCAG team, because we love our acronyms. So that's Microsoft Customer Advocacy Group on the engineering side. And yeah, I get to build community programs and talk to all y'all all day long, and do all that kind of fun stuff. And I was in Power Platform and Dynamics 365 for the last 3 years, almost 4. And then I've been in our Microsoft ecosystem for 23 years. If you can
23
believe it.
years. Wow.
23.
Over 2 decades.
I know. bananas.
Now,
So, yeah.
with Microsoft and their names and their acronyms,
Mm-hmm.
what positions have you held over those 23 years? You're at MK with MCAG, PM.
MCAG,
I
yeah.
can't even remember, like it's PM, MCAG, this, that.
MCAG, yeah. I was in BAP, which is Business Applications and Platforms. That's BizApp, right?
Bat.
I think I'm now in CAP, which is Collaborative Applications and Platforms. Yeah, and it was O365, M365. I think there was a whole it was like CNC, content and communications. There's just been BPOS, business productivity back in the day. So SPS, SharePoint Portal Server, STS, SharePoint Team Services, Windows SharePoint Team Services, WSS. Like, oh yeah, like the acronym, it's acronym soup for sure. I always ask because one, I know there's somebody else on the call probably that doesn't know what it is. And also there's like 5 different definitions for one acronym, right? So you kind of want to be sure of what somebody's talking about. So I'm always like, you use the TLA 3-letter acronym and then, tell us what it is. So yeah.
TLA.
See, when you said TLA, I thought of TLDR.
Yeah. Which is another great acronym. So
it's a great acronym. And
yeah, too long, didn't read. Yes.
Yes. The TLWR, too long, won't read.
Yeah, won't read. Yeah. Well, I've had I don't know, I have a lot of hats over here in this fabulous, costume closet of mine. But I've been a vendor for Microsoft, which is a consultant. I have been a partner. I had a software company for a long time, been a customer forever. I've been an event producer. I've worked on the product marketing teams doing launches. I've worked on the engineering side of the house. So yeah, I've had a lot of different jobs in the last 23 years. I started out as a vendor, and basically it was the original SharePoint marketing team. There were 8 people on that team, including myself. 2 of us were vendors. The rest were full-time employees, FTEs. So yeah, and it was, I started writing case studies. That was my first job. They said, we want 125 case studies, testimonials written on SharePoint Portal and SharePoint Team Services. And so I basically helped write, get together, interview, put those together into these formatted templates. And that was my first job. And then I tell this story a lot, but I did try to delete one because we were just finished with the project. I was super excited. And on delivery, I went to delete one and I deleted all of them. Yeah, it was awesome. And then
how did that go?
It was, you would think that but I had to go, I was on campus in building 25, I think at the time in Redmond, Washington, where Microsoft corporate headquarters are. And I walked over into the lab, which I think had a foosball table in it and lots of Mountain Dew and total, everything you would think. And there was a bunch of fellas in there and I was like, hey, who runs this one SharePoint site? There's no undo or anything. And we didn't even have those words at the time. There was no recycle bin, trash bin, anything like that. It was just gone. And there was I was like, and they were, oh, that's a good idea. So everybody, you're welcome.
Let's come up with an acronym for that.
Yeah, right. And so that's where we get the undo, recycle bin, trash bin. Few people partners came out with that. But yeah, I got everything back but the 2. So out of them, but they'd had to restore from the server. But yeah, after that, I just kept saying yes. They were like, have you ever done this? Sure. I was like, okay. Always,
I can figure it out. It's the way to go. It's the way to go.
Absolutely. So I've gotten, a lot of learning from working at Microsoft. And I think I've always been a marketer at heart and a producer at heart. And so to me, it was just learning lingo that I didn't know and learning from other people and asking a lot of questions. So curiosity.
So now with you working with the MCAG, with the PM, PA, C, A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
XYZ, yes.
Yes. Elemental P, we can't forget that one in the middle.
Right, yes.
What do you do now? I see you all over. And you do a lot.
All over.
And
Yeah.
I don't mean this disrespectfully. Sometimes it's hard to know what you do because you do so much. You follow? That's what I mean. It's not, I see you, you're doing a lot. And I'm like, wasn't she just doing SharePoint yesterday? And today she's doing Business Central. Tomorrow she's doing Microsoft Access. I'm making that up, by the way. But
I love Microsoft Access. It was so great. I built the case study repository for that back in 2001 for all of Microsoft, and I got to demo that Access database to Mr. Gates.
Really?
Wow, that's very cool.
That's a great story. Hold on. I shut the media board by mistake. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
The MB what?
The MB.
I can't hear it still, Brad. Oh.
Oh, you couldn't hear it?
No, I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear it.
Oh.
What are you doing? Clapping? I'll just add it post edit.
Yeah.
Oh, nobody can. Oh, see, I have it on preview, so I only can hear it. So Chris, when we did the intro, you couldn't hear it either, so it's not recording.
Oh.
See, this is what I was doing.
Oh, there's sound effects. Okay.
Yes, this is our media board, which I've been playing all along, and it's only been in my head.
Oh
and I was like, why isn't anybody going with mine?
DJ! And we haven't been hearing it. Okay.
Yes. And I went, what do you do? Oh, wait, that's the joke. Wait, what do you do?
Ooh, it's a long one. Okay.
See, do you have one of these on your podcasts?
I don't, but I need to get one. Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's so funny.
So now you give someone a toy and they play with it. Oh my
goodness, yes. I usually have a "that was easy" button on my desk somewhere, but I don't know where that is right now. So
yeah. But we don't have that. So, but to jump back, so what do you do? See, we got distracted for a moment.
Wait, what do I do?
What do you do? Well, I'd like to phrase that a little bit nicer.
What do you do?
What are your responsibilities now working with the MCAG? I have to keep looking down because I will not remember that.
It's okay. It's all good. The job is similar actually to what I was doing before. This is a community role. So it's global community evangelism and events. And
community.
Yes, community.
I do the air quotes now. Community. It's a movement. Community.
Yes. For sure. So, the reason you see me in many different places is that, to me, community for Microsoft is ubiquitous across all of the different divisions. And that's how I like to play in this, and how I have, gotten beautiful support to do that. So I was in the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 world, and now I'm back in M365, kind of where I grew up on the SharePoint team. That charter is, a little bit bigger just because there's more products. And then the things that I'm really excited about, just, working on community for M365, of course, but we started a bunch of programs during COVID, the Microsoft Global Community Initiative. I'm going to hit you with another acronym, MGCI. There you go. MGCI.
Microsoft Global Community Initiative. Got it.
Yes.
MGCI.
I'll remember that for 3 seconds.
Yeah, totally. It's all good. But we started that myself, Caruana Gatimu, who is now my manager and has been a dear friend and colleague for a long time. And Jeff Teeper, who is our president of collaborative applications and platforms, and then Charles Lamana, who is the corporate vice president for business applications. They basically said yes to this program that we pitched at them and said, we really want to have a space where we're inviting anybody across the ecosystem who uses Microsoft products to come together, come to a monthly meeting where we chit chat, we listen, we talk a little bit, but we listen to folks. And then we also help people who want to create events locally in their communities, like hackathons or one day, get together for user groups, or the old SharePoint Saturdays or Dynamics 365 Saturdays, that kind of thing. So a place where we could get people trained up on all the tools and processes of like, how do I even go about getting sponsorship or a room or a place booked for those sorts of things? So the MGCI has the communitydays.org, which is a space where we're putting all the community events across Microsoft, so that there's a one-stop shop for calls for content, for learning about what you might want to go to. A lot of in-person events are happening now. So it's been cool to think that, I grew up in the SharePoint world and did all of that as an MVP. I got to work in biz apps for the last 4 years, which was super educational, while that product set was really growing and coming up, right? The words power and platform didn't exist together before 2019. So
that has boomed.
Yeah,
too.
and it's gone bananas. Power BI was first. I mean, if we're going to talk about the powers, PowerPoint was first and PowerShell, right? But as far as like the brands and stuff like that, Power BI was out there like 7 or 8 years ago, and then all the rest of the powers have come after. And yeah, it has just gone there's bananas and is wonderful. So it's been great to be able to really help, lay a lot of the, foundation for that community. And then, coming back to M365, just sort of continuing the circle. For me, that's why you see me everywhere, is because I believe in supporting us as a community, as a one Microsoft community, kind of no matter where I am, but with a focus, of course.
It's important, I think, for the support for everybody. As I often say, rising tides raise all ships. So if the community does well, as a whole, what hurts the hive hurts the bee. So if the community is doing well, we all do well. And if the community and the product offerings aren't doing well for whatever reason, then it hurts everybody.
Completely.
And this communitydays.org, I will admit, is the first time I heard of this.
Okay.
And
great.
I don't know why, but that's okay. There's always a first time. People always say, that's the first time I've heard of this. This is the first time I saw this. I had a conversation with someone one time. I said, that's because I'm telling you for the first time. Like, you have to hear it for the first time. They were shocked, like, oh, this is the first time you're saying it.
Yeah.
But that's a place that someone can go to see live events possibly in their area or other areas of the US, or is it worldwide?
It's worldwide. So back, I don't know, about a year and a half ago now, the SharePointEvents.org site and group decided to close their doors for various and sundry reasons. And so Tom Daly, who is a Microsoft MVP out of the New York, New Jersey area, got together with some other folks and said, gosh, you know what? We really want to make sure this doesn't completely go away. So we wanted to have something that was on the Microsoft infrastructure potentially, because he was building a site. He was like, I'm building this site. And we were like, oh my God, it's amazing. We were like, how about this? Community folks build it, administrate it, put the content up, but we're going to put it on Microsoft infrastructure. So it's got all of the, privacy and the uptime and all of that jazz. And so it's this really cool collaboration. And it's been growing over time, so that you haven't heard of it yet, no big deal. That's part of, me going to talk on things like this and let people know about it. But it's a place for event producers, organizers to list their events. It's got a great back end of like being able to promote and sponsorship and all kinds of things. And we just really wanted a one-stop shop for all the different things that are happening to focus and funnel things there. So if you're looking for calls for content to submit and be a speaker, if you're looking to see what's going on in your area, and it's absolutely global. And we're working directly with, there's collab days. .org. And that is like kind of focused on Europe, but a few events in the US as well. There's a bunch of different other AES, and there's the Experts Live. So we're working with all of these other producers who do like a series or a lot of events in other places, and we're pulling their information in too, so that we're, it's not just us kind of being like, hey, put your stuff in. It's like, no, you all who are doing cool things, let's put your stuff in here too. So we're making sure that we're reaching and connecting with everybody to try and get it in one place.
So it's a platform that anybody that's putting together a community event to say, hey, I want to put it up here so it can be seen by many. And also, it sounds like it's a tool where they can ask for assistance maybe, or getting some sponsors and stuff like that. This is awesome. I didn't know this existed.
I try to be up. See, now I'm going back. I try to keep up with all of this, but I think this is a great tool because of what you had just stated, Kris. Not only is it for community members who want to participate or attend or learn, is those that want to present or put content they don't know where to start, such as user groups or other types of seminars.
Quick comment on that.
You have your your hoodie on.
Yeah. So comment on that, because like we're trying to build kind of a little plug in here. We're trying to build a community in the Philippines, and we just had Drizzle as our guest, and
Yay.
I didn't know about this. So I'm sure she knows about this. I'm going to ask her like, hey, we should post it up there and get some assistance.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I think that's the other thing that I have I would say my fist in the air about a few things in this life and in this world, but one of them definitely is looking at, there's a lot of places to go for information, right? It's
Too many.
It's too many. We're like, the world is super noisy and all of that. So, if anything, what I'm trying to do, and I say this to your audience as well, is that it's not just me, myself, and we have a internal Microsoft Community Council. And I started this with some other folks when I started, because I was like, how are y'all doing this on the inside? Because I didn't know, like I'd been on the outside for a long time as an MVP and consultant and stuff. And so, we have about 500 people who come to this. It's a team site. It's also a monthly meeting where we share information and talk to each other. But, it's like trying to make sure that we have all of us who work on community in some way at Microsoft working together as well, instead of in these silos, to help then we do things in the MCC. There's another acronym. And then we push them out to the MGCI. And that includes, working on these events, and also looking at, well, there's a platform over here that's the Microsoft Tech community that really serves Microsoft 365. There's the Power Platform community. There's the Dynamics 365 community. There's the Fabric community. There's the Xbox community. There's the communities of the communities of the communities, right? So there is efforts inside right now where we're all looking together at MS Learn and support.microsoft.com and all the different areas of like, how could we figure out more of a like maybe front door or one place to come in that maybe has, I don't know, a single sign-on where you have all your badges and all the things, so that you could have a one-stop shop. So difficult because, it's like everybody has big ideas and different money and all of that kind of thing. But hopefully if we can bring that together at some point, that would be super cool. So.
It goes back to one thing I wanted to ask you when you talked about when you started 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
Life was much simpler then.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't. I remember in my early days back then with Navision at the time. It was just so easy. It was a great application. I'm not to try to take away from it at that point. This was before Microsoft had purchased it.
Yeah.
But life just seemed a little easier. And now, as you had mentioned, I feel that there's so much information overload. It's noisy. That you have all of this information coming from everywhere. And then if you look in the ecosystem of D365, O365, M365, whatever it is on a given day, because it will change tomorrow. Don't blink. It's just growing out and out and out, and they keep adding and adding and adding. And there does have to be the realization that it's impossible for a person to know everything. But we keep seeing all of this information, and I think everybody struggles to try to keep up with, just as you had mentioned. There's conferences, there's speakers, there's this, there's that. It has definitely become a very noisy world. Now I'm going to get on my focus kick. I told you, we just kind of roll. But it causes everybody to lose focus, because you have all these like little quick, and you're always like, where's it coming from next?
Which one do I look at first?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a lot of squirrel in the world, right? Squirrel. But
yes.
You're like, ooh, shiny object. I do think that, a couple of things. Speaking of focus, I think when people are talking to me, like in mentorship sessions or asking questions about like, where do I look? There's so many things. And I feel like, to me, I am deliberate about choosing what I want to be an expert in. And I use that as a swim lane for myself. Like, I really want to be an expert in this one thing. For a long time, for me as a consultant and MVP, it was end user adoption. That was what I went and talked to the world about at sessions and workshops and all of that stuff. I really wanted to be a voice in that space. And so I decided to really hone in on that. And I think we're updated from user adoption to user enablement is the new terminology. And that for me was where I focused, and it was on SharePoint and Teams and, you know, all of those things as we went. So focus for expertise, I think, is really smart for a swim lane. And then I think the other thing is, you know, like you have an affinity towards certain people and the way they do things, you know. So you have your podcasts that you like and your blogs that you like, and you know, there are voices out in the world where you're like, I really like the way, you know, April Dunham does videos for Power Platform. So I subscribe to her. I learn from her every day. You know, there's people in the community that I keep up with that I'm watching for their stuff, or I have an RSS feed for their blog, or, you know, that kind of thing. So I think there is no way to consume all of the content that is coming out from everybody. There just isn't. So I think you have to kind of pick your favorites and flavors, and also, you know, ask other people. You know, that's it. Like, where do you get your information on blah from? Like, what's your favorite thing? You know, and to me, I'm asking that question all the time. I'm like, who's your go-to on X? You know, and I keep a list of those things for myself. And it changes and ebbs and flows as it goes along, but that's the only way I can keep it really, you know, succinct. And then I try really hard to be a beacon for that you know, I do the Mondays at Microsoft with Caruana. I'm trying to put certain things out into the world. Consistency is the other thing. It's so hard to be consistent. It really is. You know,
Yes.
we're busy and you'll start something and then like it goes, you know, and you're like, oh my goodness, you know. So if you're going to start a newsletter, if you're going to do posts, if you're going to do videos or whatever, you don't have to boil the ocean and do 15,000 of them, but just do one thing really well, you know, and rock it out.
That is great. That's what I talk about often. It's just focus on something you enjoy and then do it well, because
be consistent.
The consistency is key. It's like anything. I think someone will say, oh, I want to start doing a newsletter. I want to do a blog, or I want to do a podcast. You pick whatever.
Yeah.
They fail to realize sometimes it does take work, but at first you have the passion, you have the energy, that it could also become like work in a sense if you try to do too much.
Yep.
So you have to do that, you know, 1% change a day where it becomes a habit, where you become to enjoy it, and you can do it. See, this just turned into a great philosophical lesson on focus and time management combined.
I do like the consistency component, because that's what gets you to the finish line, right? And then just like if you're not consistent, you'll never reach that, because you're getting your squirrel. I want to collect something else.
Well, it's about what do you want as well. You know, it's like, so there's like, whenever I talk to startups, you know, I always ask them, what's your exit strategy? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, what is the deal? Do you want to be bought? Is this a lifestyle company for you that you want to run for 30 years? Is this, you know, like make a bunch of money and exit, you know? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, you should know that actually about your startup. And frankly, whatever it is you're doing, you know, because things change on a dime and life is short. And so, you know, understanding that, you know, what do you want? If you're going to put a bunch of blogs and videos out into the world, that's cool. But what is it that you want out of them? Are you trying to gain followers because you have a consulting practice and you want people to hire you to do strategic plans? Do you have a course that you want people to buy because you're trying to be a coach? Or are you a managed service and you want more projects to come in from enterprise customers that are blah, blah, blah? So like, it's great to like be like, I'm a content creator. Okay, well, cool. But like, you also want to probably like pay your mortgage and like, you know, go on a vacation or whatever. Right. So having some of those things in mind as well, so that you're leading people along a path. That's kind of marketing 101 too, is you're leading people on a path to a call to action to get them to do something, right? To maybe eventually give you some money and some revenue in order to like pay for your life, right? So, you know, and there's goodness of your heart stuff for sure, you know, and just being heard and feeling seen and, you know, using your voice, which is another great reason to do it. But there's also, you know, bottom line, we live in a capitalist society and we have to pay for things in order to have, you know, some freedom, you know. So.
You hit on several points. The consistency is key. Having a purpose is what I picked up from what you were explaining is anything that you do in order to, I think, have that consistency is to know what your purpose is of why you're doing it, so that you can measure it and also understand the benefit. You can measure what you're doing so you can see if you're being successful or not, because if you won't be consistent, if you don't know how you're doing, or if you aren't doing it as well as you had hoped for the conversation, you can change or you can exit. And then the other thing that you had mentioned is life is short. Again, I'm on all these kicks now. Maybe it's because I'm getting really old, but life is short. Time is the currency of life. Once you spend it, you don't get back. So if you are going to be doing something, make sure you understand why you're doing it, even if it's just for enjoyment. At least I can say I'm doing this because I enjoy spending my time doing it this way.
Yeah.
But if you try to do too much, you won't be able to get anything done. And I'd rather do one thing well than 10 things poorly.
100%. Yeah. And I think I think it's the same whether you're in your own consultancy or you're in a startup, or if even you're in a large enterprise, I always talk to teams about, and we hammer on this too. It's like, what is the impact, and have you reported on it? Like people say to me all the time, they're like, well, I want this, I want that, I want this. I'm like, okay, well, great. You want money for something. Well, what's the impact going to be? And, how are you going to measure the results? And, it's all the boring stuff that they're like, oh my God, I can't, but, in order to get more of anything, it's about really understanding those things from the get-go. You have to have a vision and goals, to get to that purpose. So I think it's exciting to have those conversations and learn that early on in your career as well. People who are good at budgets, people who are good at getting quotes, people who are good at putting together a one slide of like, this is the impact this is going to bring, and this is how many people I think we're going to get, and this is how much it's going to cost. Will I take that over somebody who's like, I really want money for blah, 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 like there's a difference there. And I'm like, well, I'm going to probably go with this person who's giving me a slide, and told me
I have this great idea. Millions of people are going to like it.
Yeah. And and you're like, well, lots of people have done that already, and that's cool. But what's the impact? And it may be something somebody's done before, but again, what is the impact? So, but yeah, I have that conversation a lot with folks.
You have a lot of great conversations. I need to have a day in the life of Heather. Can I just follow you around? Well, I don't want to follow you around with the travel.
You better put on some roller skates, okay? Because
you've been living with you just in the luggage. Just travel.
It's definitely sounds like you have an interesting interesting schedule, and you get to talk to several people about doing all of that. Wow. I had to write all this down because this is, what need to have your call to action. You need to have your consistency. You need to have your purpose. You need to have roller skates, and you also need to, what else?
Exit strategy, right?
Exit strategy.
Yeah. And, honestly, I don't get it right every day. I'm working on all this stuff too, just like everybody else. I work really hard at, all of us have that voice who isn't so nice in our head, that's saying all those things about like, oh, what are they thinking? It's okay. And oh my God, all of that. So I'm always like, shh, cállate la boca, like enough of you, like stop. So that, and I think, authenticity is really important to me too. I work really hard at really thinking about like what to let go of in order to be authentic. And then I am a big believer in therapy. I love therapy. I have a therapist. It's great. It's awesome. And she laid something on me last week that I was like, what? And she was like, think about it as fog. And I was like, what? And she was like, fog. And I'm like it's foggy, like my brain's foggy. And she's like, no. She's like, fog. Did you do something because of fear, obligation, or guilt?
That's good.
And I was like, girl, like,
Wow. See,
That's
you never
good.
know what you get in this podcast. Now we jumped into therapy, but that is true. Why are you doing? We have to talk more, because this is. I had this conversation with someone over the weekend. Like, you have to understand why you're doing something. Like, what is the reason? So, I have never heard of fog, and that is big. Are you doing it for fear, obligation, or guilt?
Yeah. And she's like, and don't beat yourself up about, like, if you're going to look at any of your past decisions, but think toward the future. When you're thinking about something or making a decision in some way, she's like, just think about fog. And she's like, if you cannot make that decision because of F, O, or G, it's a win.
So you want to make decisions, understand why you're making the decision. Don't dwell on the past because you can't change it. Don't focus too far on the future because it hasn't occurred yet.
Yep.
Focus more on the present and today and what you're doing and your actions, which will lead you to your future.
Which will not be foggy. It will be clear.
It will be clear.
Wow. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, that was worth a session for it. Yeah, it was, seriously. I was like, what? So.
And you gave it to us for free.
Yeah, well, and seriously, like, I write tons of things on sticky notes, and like, literally, that's right there. Why? Authenticity. I have a few of these that I.
I don't write it on a sticky note. I write it on a little yellow pad, and I probably will lose the piece of paper later.
Yeah.
But I have that on there. That is powerful.
Yeah, I like that too. I'd not, never heard that. I talk about the 3 G's: gaslighting, ghosting, and gatekeeping. None of which I like very much. Bad business for sure. And then I think 5 D's of.
She saw these acronyms, fog.
I know,
so then we
I
had
do.
the 3 G's.
It's like the way that you remember stuff. It's like mnemonic devices. It's like
gaslighting, ghosting,
gatekeeping. Yeah. All not good at work or in life, or both, or because I don't know. To me, work and life are a big blend of the same thing. Like but the G's, and I do those things because it helps me remember them. And what is the one I love? Roy G. Biv.
Red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, violet. I remember that from when I was a young child.
Exactly. That was the wee one when we were back in kids. Yeah. But, I've never forgotten that.
I feel good. I knew one. See, you just made me feel good. See, I needed that, right? High five. We'll have to do a...
Need to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong sound.
Wrong sound?
That was the store, huh?
Yeah, I have to try. I had something somewhere. Okay. I don't know. I'll find it.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I like the baduncha. That's good.
Which one?
I'm gonna think of. I wish there was. There was. I had a. Oh goodness! Wow.
That's what Kris does sometimes. More than sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we all have a day where we're a little frustrated.
So we have the fog, fear, obligation, guilt, gaslighting, ghosting, and gatekeeping. And you mentioned that one more. And then maybe we can talk about some of the other Microsoft stuff that I had on my list, but we don't have to.
Yeah. I think I was like, did I say 5 or 4? I can't remember, but it's 5 D's, where it's, depression, divorce, disease, death. And maybe that's just 4, but like a lot of all those things are pretty heavy, and they have detrimental impact on us, like
that could be the 5th.
Yeah, maybe
detriment.
That's a detriment. I think that the mind-body connection is really important. I'm not a scientist, nor do I play one on TV yet, but I do think that toxic people, stress, all of that. You read all the things about cortisol levels, which is, your stress hormone, and that makes you, I feel like that contributes to disease in your body. And, not everything is attributed to that, but like, I definitely think it makes a big difference of how you process things that happen in your life, and it can make you ill.
You are in my life. I'm reading Leaders Eat Last. And I'm in the section now where they're talking about the 4 chemicals. They're going through each of them when they talk about dopamine, the endorphins, they talk about the cortisol,
Serotonin,
the
cortisol.
selfless, selfless and selfish chemicals in your body and how they impact you, and even how a lot of this information overload can bring up depression. Lead as Eat Last is good, but that other piece is I think it was another book that I just read beforehand with the depression. I think it was like Do It Now. Was the title of that book.
Yeah.
Wow. This is deep. We have to do a segue. Let me come up with some way to do a segue. Ready? We'll do a.
The way to combat those things is to have deep, amazing relationships with other human beings on this earth through a community and something that you belong to.
And we are communal. We're a communal species because we can't do things alone.
That's true.
We would not survive alone. We needed, even if you go back, if you go back to the caveman days, as some people will say, you didn't just get up and do things. You had to work together. We're not alligators that can just kill and eat. We have thick skin that if something tries to kill us, they have a tough time getting through it. So it is, as we talk about with those chemical levels in your body, that you do need to have community to feel good.
For sure. Yeah,
and it's not just community making you feel good. You feel good helping others as well.
So giving,
Yes. I mean, there's 2 parts to that. There's someone else giving you, like a boost up, but you also boosting other people up to feel good. So
yeah, absolutely. There's, you talked about the rising tide lifts all boats, ships. Like that's a great quote, and I believe in that 100% as well. Is that we rise by lifting others. In the patterns and practices community, there's the hashtag is sharing is caring. And so that's all over the place too, of like people teaching each other how to do things. There's because I think the other thing is that we don't like to feel stupid, and so like people won't ask questions sometimes because they're like, oh, they're gonna think I'm, and so like I also really enjoy doing a lot of back to basics and 101 trainings on things, and I frankly do a lot of trainings internally because people are busy. And not everybody knows how to do everything, right? And when you're trying to figure out, like, I just need to make a short link for my page and I can't remember where is that thing and I can't, so I think that, that feeling of being able to give back to teach is really important. It makes us feel good. And then also, being able to know who to go to for things that, I have someone in my life who, he's been my IT person in my life for 20 years, and he's somebody that I will go to and ask anything. I'm like, okay, I cannot figure this out. Or, oh my God, my hard drive is full. What do I do today? Because I cannot figure out why this is happening or something, whatever it is, So I think, it's hugely important to cultivate deep friendships with other humans. It's huge.
So you feel safe. If you get into all the psychology of it, you need to feel safe at work and at home. And once you feel safe, you can define safe, then you can be productive and happy. None of us are psychologists, but we just pretend to be one on the radio.
We just dipped into Maslow's hierarchy of need because I
know. We can get into that then. Yeah. Oh, Erikson Stage's psychology is my next favorite. But to go back, one thing that I also learned and I try to advocate where I see often in the workplace is you had mentioned something where not everybody knows everything and people are learning. I often see where someone will go to another person and say, oh, look, I just learned how to, create a hyperlink to a web page.
Right.
Some people, their typical response is, oh, I already knew that. And I try to say to people, you don't say that. Like everybody has to learn something new. You could just promote it and say, oh, great. That's a neat thing you learned. You can also look and see this, or try to help and promote them to, feed that fire for learning and education versus cutting them down. It just, sometimes I see faces of, as part of the conversations in groups where they bring it. Obviously there's a point in, there's a place and time for everything. You don't need to bring that up at a certain place. But you can see the letdown in someone's face and the reaction if they're excited about something and somebody goes, oh, I already knew that. And then just moves along.
Or they say they already knew it in that, why would you tell me that? I know that.
Yes.
In that, and just see that way. That happened, right? You get the furrowed brow. That's that. I try not to do that too often. But anyway, but that's also something else where it's again, it's not about you. Don't take it personally. They're excited to share something with you that they did. Just say, that's great. Thank you. Don't make an assumption that they think that you don't know it, or that if you already knew it, putting them down about it. Yeah. I mean, all that stuff is really subtle, but that's sort of, those are the things that can really make or break your day too, like
Absolutely.
and it makes you not want to share or be excited, and just kind of like, all right, whatever, I'm just going to keep it to myself. And
yes,
that's not,
and shut down. So
yeah, which is more of those bad chemicals.
Yes. 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 What was that?
So, yeah, no more of that. Yeah.
Is that a shift? So
that's a swoosh.
That's a swoosh.
I know. I was like, I feel like we're doing Tai Chi now. What's going on? Okay.
Well, no, it lets us, we can just be like, whew.
I like it. Yeah. Next.
Yeah. No, I don't want, I could talk about this stuff forever. Forever's awesome. A long time too, by the way.
Forever is a long time, but I don't know. I've seen Good Omens. That seems kind of interesting.
Good Omens where? Forever?
Oh, the show.
Oh, the show, yeah, and Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's a great show.
Forever,
I didn't see that. I don't know what that is.
What Forever is, I think.
Oh. Yeah. I can't get into two. I do one show and one book at a time.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
A good focus.
I have to focus on it. So I'm watching 3 Body Problem right now. And I'm reading Leaders Eat Last. And the Daily Stoic I read every morning, but that's just a couple pages each day.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I can do that. So now I don't know how to transition back to all the Microsoft stuff that I wanted to talk about. So
the philosophy.
Yeah. What do you want to know about?
What do I want to know about? I don't want to know about anything anymore. I heard everything I needed to hear today already. I have, fog. I care more about these acronyms: the fog, the and the communitydays.org,
yes,
collabdays.org. Having some consistency, a purpose, and an exit strategy. See, I honestly took notes. You didn't think I did. Now ask me where these notes will be tomorrow.
We gotta talk about our exit strategy, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So Heather, how can we exit out of this podcast?
Well, there's a button. No,
it's delete. But unfortunately, we now have a recycle bin, so we can't delete it permanently.
Now you can whip it back around, right? Yeah.
Thanks to you back in the day for deleting the SharePoint case studies.
Sure. Yeah.
We now have a recycle bin.
Yeah, that was really, very exciting moment. Well, you are, the Dynamics Corner podcast, right? So maybe we end with some fun, cool things that are coming up for Dynamics. How about that?
Yes. See, look at you transitioned it back for us. Yes. So what interesting things are coming up with Dynamics?
Well, first of all, we've got all the Copilot, stuff that is happening in the Dynamics space with sales.
What is Copilot? I haven't heard about that yet.
Oh my gosh. Copilot is a Microsoft AI tool that is now in just about every product you can imagine that helps you with generative AI and also bots and also just your everyday questions. Now inside the product, it's a add-on to Microsoft 365 for Copilot for Microsoft 365 and then tons of other products as well. So yeah, that's what Copilot is.
It's a great assistant.
Yeah, and it has large language models that have been trained, but also you can use it in a public way. You can also use it inside your enterprise, and it will only use your information inside your enterprise, and it will not be sending things out into the world. So there's a lot of responsible AI provisions that Microsoft has put in for data and keeping data where it should be. As well. So yeah, so there's a lot going on with that. And there's also a bunch of really cool events coming up. So the Dynamics user group folks, the Doug folks are putting on Dynamics Con Live.
Will you be there?
I won't. I'm going to be in Germany.
We do it. You got to plug in that code, Brad. What's the code?
Did you know that if you were going and you wanted to register, you could get a 15% discount?
What?
No. Yes, by using Dynamics Corner as a promo code.
Hey.
Did you know that?
I did not know that, but
share that with your friends.
So Yes. So,
And that could be
yeah.
a plane ticket. I tell everyone that could be a plane ticket because 15% off the registration is about $300.
Yeah.
In some cases, you could get $300 plane ticket. Therefore, just by using a code, you could save on airfare or a hotel stay.
Right, for sure. So yeah, that's Denver, y'all. The third week of May coming
May
up.
14th to May 17th.
Yep, exactly. Molly and team put on a great event. I've loved working with them as producers over the last few years, and will continue to do so. But it's a great event. There's going to be a lot of awesome stuff there. I know that their Tech Fluent is also going to be there, which does a lot of wonderful teaching and training events and programs. So that's going to be awesome. And then if you're in the European way, Dynamic Minds, which is coming up in Portoroz, Slovenia.
I want to go so badly, but I can't.
I know. I'm trying to figure out if I can do that one or not. But that's going to be a great event. It's it's so fun because, with Doug, they have the whole like superheroes. I love themes. I love it when event organizers pick a theme or they have something that makes it, that more fun and special. Cause it's like the content's going to be awesome, right? We know that from the community and or Microsoft folks, but it's like all those little sort of fun, cool things that are just outside the box experiences. So like Doug has the whole superheroes, and Dynamic Minds has had like the witches and wizards and other things, which is super fun. So that's coming up the last week of May. I think it's the 27th through the 29th, I believe. So yeah, there's some great Dynamics events coming up per usual. So
Summit North America is also in there. That's
North America. That's coming up in
April.
October Summit.
Oh, no. I always get them mixed up. Summit, jeez. And I deal with them both. Summit is in October.
October, yeah.
It's a large conference that covers all things.
Yeah, I think San Antonio this year, I believe.
Yes, that's in San Antonio. Directions North America is in San Diego in April. That's what I had meant to say. But for some reason, I screw them up. And
that's a drive for you, Heather.
Yeah, that's true. It is a drive for me.
Are you going to any of these?
It's not in the books.
Why? No. How do we get that in your books? Do I have to go to communitydays.org to request assistance to get you there?
Maybe to request my presence. No, I'm still working out kind of what I'm going for going to speak up for the rest of the year. So yeah, slow going. Yeah, I transitioned and stuff too, so I'm trying to figure out where people want me to be, and also working with my team on who's going to what on our team as well.
We want you everywhere.
We want you everywhere. And I am excited about Copilot, by the way. I think it's a great tool that someone can use to make their life easier. And that's the important thing that I think people need to remember. It's a tool. It's not a thing that's going to give you, I see some people talk about how, I beat Copilot, it was wrong. And I really feel like saying, any carpenter needs to use the right tool to build a house. Do I want to use a hammer? Do I want to use an air gun? Do I use a screwdriver and a screw? You have to use the right tool for the right job. But if a tool can help you either get your thought process down, because I've used AI to help even just generate an outline or to get my thought process started, that saved me a lot of time by getting going. So there's other ways to do it. One question I have on this, I don't know if you know, since you brought it up. And I think it's like anything with Microsoft. How is it licensed? Because I think you could have 5 full-time people who work with licensing and none of them would understand any of the licensing.
Yeah. You have to always ask the licensing question, don't you? Yes. So, well, I mean,
let's go back to when life was simple. I used to just be able to buy Windows 3.1 and then just put it in and I was done.
You get a disc. Yeah, no, I know. I was like, it's a lot. So, I mean, it sort of depends on which one you're talking about. So for Copilot, for Microsoft 365, it's an add-on for anyone it's a per user per month. It's depending on the size of your organization. So that's how it's based. So in working with a lot of my SMB friends, and they're like, how do I license it?
Small to mid-sized business.
Yeah, because that was one of the ones that came up later. So it's so funny. What I did was, you could see the change in my glasses. I thought, oh, let's put this up. So it literally, I pulled up Copilot in Bing, and I basically said, how do I purchase Microsoft Copilot from Microsoft 365? And so for personal use, Copilot Pro is $20 per month. You can use it in Microsoft 365 applications. For business use, small and medium business, you can do existing subscriptions, $30 per user per month. And then if you have an enterprise subscription, you should reach out to your account representative to figure that out. So
that answers your question there, Brad. You need a ton of people to understand what license.
No, you just need me and Copilot. I just did that there.
That's it right there. I don't. Now I should just. When I have licensing questions for any of these products, I should just ask Copilot now, because maybe Copilot can explain it to me.
Copilot, how can I get you?
It literally went like that. So I was like, okay.
No, that is something that comes up and I hear often. I just a little, but with anything that comes out, that's one important factor, is to know that there is a cost to it. And, how do you obtain the cost and how can you use it? And I think it is a great tool, and I use it, and I have it on my phone. And now, like not even memes, but I used to look for like GIFs to post and respond, and everybody, now I just like, Copilot, draw me a photograph of a person standing on a desk, with waving their hands, and it's unbelievable. And they're like, okay, send.
Yeah. And it's unique.
So, it is unique.
It is. No, it's a great tool. It's a great tool. I think, like any other tool, though, it has its place. It has its purpose.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Anything has to be used responsibly, in my opinion. Yeah, and sure. I'd rather have people focus on that versus, I beat Copilot.
Right, completely.
And you got to take that AI fundamentals. It'll tell you all about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, you have to do that. I think, and I realize that I've been scheduled into a meeting here in about 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I was just about to say, Heather, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon.
I really enjoyed it.
Your time is valuable. Last thing, how could someone get hold of you to learn some of the great things that you do and see all the other great things that you do in the community?
Yeah, I really center a lot of my work through LinkedIn. And so you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Heather Cook. It used to be Heather Newman, so it will pull up for kind of both of those. But Heather Cook is my new old maiden name. So you can find me there. I am on the Twitterverse and Insta and TikToks at Hedda, HEDDA, MAV as in Vixen, EN as in Nancy. So you can find me there, and I do a lot of posting on those things as well. So those are the places.
Right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Enjoy your meeting, and we look to speak with you soon.
Thank you so much. And a big shout out to the Dynamics community and all of your listeners and watchers and stuff. So keep creating all that awesome content, and just be awesome, because you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao.
All right, take care.
Bye.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you, Kris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, MATALINO.io. And my Twitter handle is Matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.